Okay, this video is going to be called Puns of the CIA, and it's going to be talking about various relatives to the CIA, which is, the CIA is likely like something like 5% of the world population, right? As Schlesinger described them, they're a state within a state. They have their own monetary system, and because they're above the law, they just basically have a monopoly over the entire economic system of the world, except for perhaps China, right? And that's why China is going to be like the last civilization. But this video is just going to be about how obvious and just evil and thuggish the CIA is. And they have a lot of puns, and it's pretty obvious if people are CIA agents because they don't have good people working for them. They only have evil people or like mind-controlled people. Narcissistic people who think they're clever, and this is why they do these ridiculous like puns. And CIA agents include Bernie Madoff, right? Like he made off with all that money. And Edward Snowden literally was in the CIA, exposed the NSA because the thing about the NSA is there's still an element perhaps but perhaps it's to create tension, like elusive tension, but in reality it's most likely that the CIA have total control over the FBI and the NSA and make the rules, like as Schlesinger said, the CIA are the policy makers, and it's only gotten worse post JFK. They were trying to get rid of it, and the only reason we all saw JFK's head explode on that last minute route change is because back then the CIA were sort of desperate to, okay, we gotta kill this guy or we're dead. So, we all saw them take power, right? As Bob Dylan said, it's the greatest magic trick of all time in his song Murder Most Foul. But, Snowden's obviously a CIA agent. Bernie Madoff. Probably Goldman's. Let me see. Yeah, Snowden's the most obvious CIA agent, and that's why I'm not a fan of Russia either. Russia's under control by the CIA, But obviously Russia, the thing about Russia is it's similar to maybe Israel, where it's it's under control by the CIA, but it still has some sort of ethnic monogamy, which could keep it in place post-CIA, while USA is basically doomed to be controlled by CIA until it's not. But yeah, Edward Snowden, you got Snowden in Russia, right? What a stupid pun. And Bernie Madoff. Nick Fuentes is obviously CIA, and if you look at the etymology of the name Nick Fuentes, the meaning of the name is like Adolf Hitler, right? I think Adolf means, let me see. Yeah, the name Fuentes, Google Fuentes name meaning, it means fountains or spring. Let's see. And then if you look at the name Hitler, it means a subterranean river or fountain, Heidel. Because Heidel is, it's either Heidler or Hutler, but if you actually look into it, his father's name or Hitler was adopted by Adolf Hitler's father, Alois. Anyways, they do this stupid etymology shit. Also, Nicholas means victory of the people, and then Adolf means the wolf, right? So, Nick Fuentes means the victory of the people fountain, and then Adolf Hitler means the wolf fountain. But yeah, also Nick Fuentes is disgusting. All these CIA people are disgusting people. Sam Hyde is obviously CIA, but he's a little funny, I guess. And all these CIA people have this weird sort of superficial personality, which you could see most clearly in Andrew Bustamante, who's explicitly CIA, right? He's the worst person ever. And Professor Jiang, is obviously CIA. He's like fake Chinese, right? But he's like super schizophrenic. Because in reality, atheism is very simple. But he's saying the most insane crap. He's a schizophrenic CIA psyop thing. And I guess I'll also speak on Tyler Robinson, Lee Harvey Oswald, JFK, and Charlie Kirk, as well as Julian Assange. Now, the thing about Charlie Kirk is that he was not part of the CIA, but he was not aware of the CIA, right? So he went to all these colleges. He didn't realize what he was doing. But, you know, maybe 500,000 U.S. citizens saw him in real life, like he was really doing work. And you can't really suppress that. Like, if 500,000 people see you in real life in a country and you only get 10 YouTube views, right? That doesn't really make sense. So, you know, Charlie Kirk, how many views did he get on YouTube? Maybe like 1 million? And if it wasn't for TikTok, he'd probably get less views, right? But TikTok, he really blew up on TikTok. He blew up on TikTok, and then he kind of blew up almost like JFK, but, you know, in the neck, right? You can't have a JFK assassination. That's too obvious. And Tyler Kirk, as we know, was groomed on Discord. He had this Discord transsexual girlfriend, which is Mkultra technique, Skinner's box method of Discord grooming. And people who are into this trans stuff are like the most suggestible people. Like the trans stuff in the first place was invented by the CIA in the 70s or whatnot. So Kirk was unfortunately not aware of the CIA, and once he started getting wise and getting a little too popular, you know, you can't have famous people if they're not useful to the agenda, right? And it makes you ask the question, how many people are you allowed to red pill? Are you allowed to red pill 10 people or because Charlie Kirk was perhaps red pilling people a little too much. He was perhaps not too afraid to at least discuss the possibility of a CIA cabal controlling the world, right? And he started questioning Jewish people, right? But in reality, the thing about Ben Shapiro is I also don't think Ben Shapiro is a CIA agent. I think Ben Shapiro is actually Jewish, and the Jewish religion is actually under control by the CIA, right? Like the CIA has all these different Manchurian candidate branches. It has Jews, who are like the smartest Manchurian candidates. Then it has like Christians and Muslims. And Muslims, you know, Muslims might actually be their own thing, right? Like Muslims seem to be somewhat anti-CIA. But then the thing about Christians and Jews is that they are somewhat controlled by the CIA. Because, you know, the CIA is making Israel useful. But, you know, it is the fact that Israel in the first place was more like a Chinese, Marxist, communist, atheistic, secular place. And recently it's become very religious for CIA purposes, perhaps. But, you know, it is possible that it could survive as an independent state. Once it kind of like USA falls out of power and Israel bends to China, which that's what I would predict is happening. But back to the question of how many people are you allowed to red pill about the CIA, right? Like Julian Assange, he didn't even really, you know, he red pilled a lot of people, right? But no one really knows about Vault 7. No one really knows about what Julian Assange actually leaked. Because it was censored by the media, right? Like, how are people going to access it? They're not going to, you know, you're not going to find it on Google. I found it on DeepSeek, which is Chinese AI, right? And perhaps you could have found it on TikTok, but recently TikTok got took over by USA, and they essentially lobotomized TikTok. Like, it seems like to the US population, it's like, oh, thank God they didn't ban TikTok. But in reality, switching control from China to USA for TikTok, now it's just the same as Instagram. Like, it's even worse because now people will get propagandized because they trust TikTok. But they don't realize that it's taken over. But I believe DeepSeek is still Chinese. So, you know, I learned all this weird CIA stuff from DeepSeek. And it's not even like I didn't fact check it. you know, I'm not going to start proving this stuff, but, you know, Schlesinger memos aren't a, that's not a really conspiracy theory topic unless you think JFK's special assistant is top guy we talked with all the time, unless you think that guy was crazy. You know, JFK was, you know, after they blew his brains out, he wasn't quite there, right? That's what they say.